Okay, welcome to talkSPORT End Zone. I'm Jay Lawrence, joined by senior NFL columnist Brian Smith. Let's run down our top 5 Super Bowl contenders. Now, the story on talkSPORT.com is the top 10, so we'll run down the top 5, okay? So if you want to see 10 to 6, you have to get over to talkSPORT.com. We'll start with number 5, obviously, and this is one that I think I agree with you, Brian. I think I agree with you, but I think...
You don't have to, it's okay.
I think I do, but I think there'll be some people that won't, basically. Number 5, Baltimore Ravens.
I will acknowledge with the Ravens at number 5 and keep continually having in there that I am going a little bit off expectation or past, and I try not to do that because it's current. But that does factor in, right? I mean, they are human beings. We're dealing with reality in sports in the NFL. The Baltimore Ravens are a very good team with a very good quarterback who won the MVP last year. They added Derrick Henry. You're well coached. All those things. We talk about the same thing every week. And they're still in it for me. Like, the record is not there, but they've won 2 straight. That was a very, very tough, gritty win last week against the Cincinnati Bengals. Lamar Jackson is playing better. Derrick Henry is a beast right now, best running back in the NFL again. You put all that together with their home field advantage until you maybe get to Arrowhead and the playoffs, and this is just a Baltimore Ravens team that I feel like the entire year they're not going away. They've been able to turn around their slow start. They're only getting better. I feel like they're a top 5 team right now.
I do wonder, though, and this might be a stupid question, but if Evan McPherson, the Cincinnati Bengals kicker, manages to get it through the uprights and the Bengals get a victory there and the Ravens lose, presumably you drop them out the top 5. Or would you keep it because you're just that confident?
No, because 10 through 6 is also starting to get close and a little murkier. We talked about this on the rundown this week as well. The issue that I have with a lot of the NFL is that there's a lot of mediocrity this year. There's not much separation. I do feel like top 5, once you throw in Lamar Jackson, John Harbaugh, Derrick Henry, this is a team, again, that should be Super Bowl contender. As long as they win, they have enough talent that, could I envision the Baltimore Ravens being in the Super Bowl? Yes, I could do that. And they're starting to get hot again, but they have a huge game this week against Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders. That's an interesting...
Who would have thought that weeks ago?
That's an interesting test. And then at Baltimore, Washington, which is not, not much separates those 2 cities. That's a very interesting test for both teams this week.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a really exciting one, actually. Okay, we'll move on to number 4, the Houston Texans, a team which got the victory against the Buffalo Bills down to... And I know you're very animated about it.
I'm a big Sean McDermott fan.
Yeah, obviously. You're very animated because you are not a fan of Sean McDermott, the Bills head coach, and his play calling there and his choices at the end of the game, which basically didn't give the Texans the win, but made it a lot easier for them to win with that last-second field goal. Houston Texans at number 4. Is it all 3 aspects of the team that you're pleased with?
I think this is a 4-1 team this year that has not done anything to deter me from thinking that the Houston Texans could easily be in the AFC Championship game. C.J. Stroud, he's had some issues the last few weeks, but he's still playing at a very high level. What I love about the Houston Texans is they had adversity last year, but this year to have the expectations and then have adversity, to have injury issues, to have key players out of the lineup and have to have other guys step up. You deal with that early in the season and you keep winning games, and the defense is solid, the offense is good, even with the injury issues. You put all that together with DeMeco Ryans and a fan base that really, really believes in this team and really wants this team to win. And then the simple fact, they're 4-1. There are very few teams in the NFL that are 4-1 right now. There's no way around it. It's a no-brainer. The Houston Texans are a top 5 team, and that's why I'm at number 4.
I mean, this is why I love the NFL, because you've got the Houston Texans here at number 4. And you mentioned the Washington Commanders there just ever so briefly. Now, before the beginning of last season, nobody really saw the Houston Texans as contenders. No one really saw them as contenders for a lot, for years and years and years. All change as soon as you have C.J. Stroud. We won't talk about the Washington Commanders now, but it feels like that's what's happening there with Jaden Daniels. Nobody had them in mind, and then Jaden Daniels comes in. So
it's amazing how much, and this is why we spend so much time obsessing over the draft process and the quarterbacks, and we usually end up getting it wrong, right? That's what happens. Ask Bryce Young about that. But it is amazing in the NFL for all of the billions of different pieces how much one rookie quarterback can change your franchise.
And maybe less pressure as well, because, just quickly on C.J. Stroud there as well, and we're seeing with Jaden Daniels now, there are quarterbacks that were drafted above them. Those are the ones that...
You're totally right.
They have the pressure on, and yet... People didn't really feel like that they had the pressure on C.J. Stroud, and he's the one that is balling out. It has been balling out for about a year. We'll move on to number 3. The 5-0 Minnesota Vikings. They came over to London and they leave with a victory. Number 3, Brian.
I tried to give King Charles some advice last week.
Oh yeah,
and if you're the king of the United, you're one of the most powerful people in the world. You're very intelligent, very prestigious. If you wanted to really do something classy, go out to Tottenham and see the hottest quarterback in the NFL, Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold let me down. He was not really that great, but he is 5-0. And in the NFL, it's not about winning 40-0. There's going to be weeks where you win it with your defense. You win it with a kick, and you love Justin Tucker. All that matters is that you win that game. And what I saw at Tottenham in London from the Vikings was this was a team that their defense won that game for them. You get 2 early picks from Aaron Rodgers. You get a game-ending pick from Aaron Rodgers. Brian Flores is just dominating this year with that Minnesota Vikings defense. Sam Darnold was good enough. He did not throw the game away. They are 5-0. They are the best story, along with the Washington Commanders, in the NFL right now. Who in the world would have thought the Minnesota Vikings would be 5-0? Not even the players in that locker room. And now you've got guys doing interviews on talkSPORT, dressing up like Tommy Shelby. I love the vibe from the Minnesota Vikings right now. When J.J. McCarthy went down as a rookie quarterback, it felt like, oh, season's over. And it's been the exact opposite. Kevin O'Connell has continued to get the best out of his quarterbacks. That's the other part about this. You lose Kirk Cousins. Okay, like kind of weird. You're going to go with a rookie quarterback. Where are you going? Justin Jefferson didn't seem 100% happy. You're 5-0. It's hard to argue against that. And
it's interesting that you say that we're usually wrong about the draft, because I remember earlier on this year in the off season, I was concerned about the Minnesota Vikings purely because,
rightfully so,
Justin Jefferson, an incredible receiver. He had this good relationship with Kirk Cousins on the field. It was proven that he did, and that's why he's seen as one of the best. So you bring in J.J. McCarthy, a rookie, and you bring in Sam Darnold. It's fair to call him a journeyman, I think, over the last few years. What does that mean? What does that mean for Justin Jefferson? Does that mean that he's going to be able to produce as much as he has?
Does he want to stick around and deal with all that?
Exactly. Loads of question marks in the air. We're not worried. We're not worried. We'll move to number 2, the Detroit Lions, with a big matchup this week, actually, Brian.
Yeah, the game of the week, and we have this covered at talkSPORT, Detroit Lions versus the Dallas Cowboys. So former America's team versus current America's team, Dan Campbell versus Mike McCarthy, Dak Prescott versus Jared Goff. You could keep going down that list. And the Detroit Lions, it's all about taking the next step this year, but they haven't gone backward in 2024. And they didn't really go backward in 2023. They had some midseason adversity, then found it again. I like everything about this Detroit Lions team. Still, last week felt like they were the best team in the NFL. We'll get to who's number 1 in a second. But this is a team going into that Cowboys game. They continue to just make weekly statements, and there's no bigger statement that they can make than beating the Dallas Cowboys.
Do you think that they need to be concerned about the division they're in, though? Because I know that you've got them at number 2, but, they still have to get out of a division that has, yes, the Green Bay Packers, who have been faltering, probably, I think it's fair to say, but they're also in the same division as the 5-0 Minnesota Vikings that we just covered as well.
I think that is a absolutely fantastic point, and that's not getting talked enough about, in general in the NFL. It's okay. Isn't this interesting? You have the Minnesota Vikings, who are 5-0, no one to predict it. You got Sam Darnold, who's a question mark, but getting it done. You have the Detroit Lions in the same division. They're going to play each other twice, and they have the better quarterback and the better overall roster, maybe not the most explosive wide receiver. Who's going to be the better team? You know what I would love to see right now, and we can't fast forward, is you could do a mini, divisional Super Bowl and have the Vikings and Detroit Lions play to get in the NFC Championship, something fun like that. That's what it feels like it's coming down to. I think you're 100% right about that. I can keep talking about the Lions and have them in the top 5 of the talkSPORT.
It's redundant, isn't it?
But in the end, and you could get the wild card and still do it. But if you're going to be the Super Bowl team, you probably need to win your division, and they're going to have to be better than Minnesota Vikings this year, and not many people were saying that coming into the season. Yeah,
that's a crazy sentence, actually, when you think about it. But that's the NFL. That is the NFL. Okay, number 1. The reigning Super Bowl champions, the team that are still going for that three-peat fresh off of Monday Night Football and their victory against the New Orleans Saints, the Kansas City Chiefs. Is this boring now, Brian, the Kansas City Chiefs being the successful team, being the team to beat? Or is it just it is what it is, we need to appreciate the talent when we get to watch it?
It is the latter. We need to appreciate the talent when we get to watch it. This is a thrilling team. This is an exciting team. some of those old Patriots teams, they won with defense, very systematic. They kind of grinded it out. They were great football teams, but they almost reminded me of the San Antonio Spurs with the NBA. And yeah, you got a little tired of them. This is the exact opposite. The fact that you can lose your best wide receiver and other best wide receiver, you can lose your starting running back, you can have major changes. Travis Kelce, as we all know, has a lot going on in his life with his misses. You have all these things going on. And then you can come out and you can put up 20, 30 points. Patrick Mahomes throws for plus 300 yards. I love that they bring Kareem Hunt back. And Kareem Hunt, reverts back to 6 years ago. Travis Kelce it looks like an all-pro again.
Juju Smith-Schuster, we need to bring up as well.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Were you even in the league anymore? And now you have 130 yards. So once again, Kansas City reminded us that, hey, all the talk and all the noise and all the distractions, but when it clicks with Patrick Mahomes throwing for 300 plus yards, Saints were the hottest team in the NFL for a couple of weeks. Now the Saints appear to be in serious trouble. And that all comes down to the offensive line. As you mentioned on the rundown and Derek Carr's injury, Kansas City Chiefs, for all their issues, they look like the best team in the NFL again. And I'd be a fool to doubt them right now through 5 weeks.
Just on Kareem Hunt and Juju Smith-Schuster, I honestly do believe that there are not that many better situations than being cut by a team only to be picked up by the Kansas City Chiefs. It's fallen in your lap to an extent.
They're winning at Arrowhead, and they're universal cheers, and Taylor Swift is there, and it's Monday Night Football, and Kareem Hunt talked about that. He made a heart sign to the crowd because it meant so much to him. How can you root against that? What's there not to like about that? That's a very fun, exciting team.
Just before we end, and maybe I'm looking forward too much. I'm looking forward literal years with this next question. But the word dynasty is bandied about so much, isn't it? And the New England Patriots, no doubt, would be considered one of those. But what we saw with the Patriots is, yes, Bill Belichick was there for the duration. Yes, Tom Brady was there for the duration. But there were different eras in between, talking about Taylor Swift. There were different eras, those different generations, What I think will be really exciting and fascinating is, regardless if the Kansas City Chiefs win the Super Bowl this year and they manage to do the three-peat, is that Patrick Mahomes is going to have a longer... He's going to outlive Travis Kelce's career.
You're giving me goosebumps right now. You're totally right.
Don't you think it's interesting? Because this is a guy who could be playing for the Chiefs in 10 years' time. It's going to be a completely different team in 10 years' time. And that's what I think is quite exciting. If we're looking ahead, we're looking at the Super Bowl contenders of this season. I am looking at the Super Bowl contenders in a decade's time.
Patrick Mahomes is not going anywhere.
No, he's not going anywhere. All right, thank you very much to Brian. That's the top 5 Super Bowl contenders. And if you'd like to look at the top 10, head over to talksport.com.